Welcome to Freelance Sucks. Here we discuss the dark side of freelancing about which nobody usually talks out loud. In this show, we speak with experienced freelancers, and I'm sure listening to their stories helps you prepare for freelancers' challenges. My name is Yuri, I'm a community builder at Code Control and 9am.works, and my guest is Sam Kim, a freelance WordPress developer with over 12 years of industry experience who works with select companies mostly as an ad hoc white label web developer, but at times also plays the role of fractional CTO. So, welcome, Sam.
Hey, thanks, Yuri.
What is your number one most challenging part of being a freelancer?
Oh, number one most challenging part of being a freelancer. Time management. So being able to, um, you know, I work a lot as a freelancer, right? And I'm sure a lot of us do. And, I think that's one of the kind of, and being very honest, things that I deal with is and time management and being able to sort of manage how much I work and how much I live. So kind of creating that boundary of work and life, I think that's the biggest challenge I have. Working from home, working, for clients, not really going to a specific 9 to 5 or a strict place. It's almost like you have the free for all of working, right? So I think that was the biggest challenge in my mental health. And yeah.
As there is this joke I'm always referring to that now I'm a freelancer and I can work 24/7.
Yeah,
how,
exactly it.
how do you deal with it? How do you still draw build this boundary? How do you understand when it's time for work, when it's time for life? How do you see the difference between both sides? Is there a difference between both sides?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, I really had a tough time early on in my career and, the start of my career where I was just working day and night. Like I was not stopping. And, it was getting to a point where I actually had burnt out and,
Hmm.
I quit freelancing for a bit, had a job, and then came back to it. And, when I came back to it, the reason I kind of stuck around was because I created, as you mentioned, a strict boundary. So, on my calendar right now, I literally have a block where I'm done work.
Hmm.
I have this, you see this like kind of purple lighting and everything, this ecosystem. This is my workspace. And I kind of create a zone where I step into the work life. And then when I step
Yeah.
out of it, which is like normal lighting and everything, I'm back to my real life. So in my mentality and like everything here, I'm like, I created a workspace at home so it feels like I'm going to work, I'm gonna step out, I'm gonna not think about it. So that has certainly like really helped me a lot, creating that strict boundary.
I can imagine that if you are, for example, freelance and working at home, you can go out of the door, go outside, do a little work, and kind of come back exactly specifically into your workplace. So it looks like you are commuting to work.
Oh man, that's a good point. Yeah, 100%. Just do a lap, drive around the block, come back.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, I'm working, and while doing that, listen to some podcast or whatever people usually do when they're commute to work.
Yeah. That's a really cool idea. Go to the gym almost.
What is the most time-consuming thing you must deal with as a freelancer, except for the work itself?
Um, the most time consuming is client management. So, um, in my nature of freelancing slash business, my number one thing other than fulfilling the work is, I consider sort of what I do like as a basic, but my main job is making sure the client's happy, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, my physical job is making sure the work gets done, but my other half of the job is I have to make sure my client's happy, make sure they're satisfied. So even if it's not work, attending to them, keeping up that conversation and, doing whatever I can to make sure I'm there is where I spend most of my other time.
So let's list it. So you delivered your work, and what else? What else do you need to do with your clients for them to feel that you are a great person and they're happy with you?
Yeah, check-ins. So making sure whatever you do, you check in with your client. It's almost like, you know, you never go, a week or 2 weeks without checking in on your loved one, with your wife, without, you never probably go a day without checking in, like, hey, how's your day going? You want to do that with your client. If you want that respect and you want them to think about you and you want them to give you the work, you got to make sure you're there. So before they can think about, oh, like, who do I reach out to give this work? You're there. Hey, how's
Mm.
everything going? How's the work that I delivered? How's everything? So making sure you're on top of it, I think, is the number one. The second one with clients is checking in with maybe future work. Hey,
Mhm.
I know we haven't chatted. Is there any additional work that's coming up? I'd love to kind of catch up and see how things are going. What other projects are you guys working on? So starting up conversations and keeping that conversation live is super important.
Do you have some kind of I don't know, calendar thing or some kind of a plan that, okay, I reached out to this person, I'm reaching out to them in like in 2 weeks or in 1 month. So do you have some kind of reminders? Why I'm asking, because when you have a long list of clients, it's easy to forget asking them, or you reached out to 10 of 100 people and then like, oh, it's enough, like it's too much work. So how do you approach reaching out to clients?
Yeah, so I have a system, and basically it's automated every month. And I have a checklist every month I have to check. And I have to check to make sure all my clients are happy. So that means I've talked and reached out to all of my clients, make sure I've gotten that feeling of everything is good, everything's satisfied. And that checklist, when I check it off first of every month, so January 1st, it's gonna come back. And then I have to reach out to all my clients, making sure everything is good. So I use a system on calendar to always automate, and it's just Google Calendar. It just
Yeah.
automatically pops up. Oh, make sure check in with this client, check in with this client.
And if someone is unhappy, what do you do?
Oh, you got to make sure they're happy. So, so the thing is, it's very, happiness is very two things, right? It's emotion or psychology, right? So you got to really take a look at it as, why are they unhappy? What did you do?
Mm.
In this case, Yuri or Sam, what did you do? Why are they unhappy, right? So make them happy. So whatever you did, you know, understand and realize and act on it. So if it's a mistake you've made, be upfront and make and take ownership of it. A lot of things
Mm.
that I've noticed is, it's not bad. It's actually a good thing to take ownership of a mistake or something that you see that isn't done right. And what I mean by that is, the client will actually trust you more, and they'll actually be able to have that sense of, again, trust. Because, like, if you're really honest and you
Mm.
really care, then you're gonna say it. It's almost like if I say this again, your loved one or your best friend, if something's wrong with them, you're gonna let them know, because you actually care. And that's the same thing I think should be with all your clients, all projects.
No, I've never heard before anyone talking about clients as their loved ones or friends, but I feel like I totally feel what you're talking about. And I also guess it takes a lot of empathy
Yeah.
to be with those people and a lot of vulnerability to kind of tell that I'm not perfect. I can also make mistakes, but I own my mistakes. And I wonder how did you get this courage to be this kind of person who can openly and honestly talk about this thing with clients?
Yeah, the thing is, when you start realizing, um, honesty goes a long way, and by that I mean being honest. It will take away the anxiety. So, what I mean by that is, whenever in the past, early on in my days, I made a mistake. Let's say I would keep my mouth shut, and I would spend hours trying to fix that mistake without billing my client. And then in the end, I'm like, oh man, I made a mistake. I know I did. But if I were at a job, I'd still be getting paid for fixing my mistake that I've done. But
Yeah.
why am I doing this to myself? So started realizing, hey, like this is not good for me and this is not good for my clients. I should just be upfront. If I make a mistake, they should know about it, and I should just be upfront. Let's see how they react. And what I've gotten was, and when I was, and I'll take a step back. When I was had a job and I was leading a team, I had one developer that would make whenever they would make mistakes, they would always come to me and they say, hey, I didn't do this, or I didn't get this done. I know, but I will get this done. Instead of me having to check in and, oh, this is not them finding out, right? And what I got from that was like, I felt good. Like, I felt good that he took the courage to tell me. And, I couldn't say anything about that. I was like, wow, yeah, no problem. Like, you can do it on your own time. And when I started realizing I was like that, I started realizing maybe others are like that, right? So I started kind of, trying it out, and it worked. People actually respected the fact that I was honest, and people respected the fact that, and would actually be willing to, work with someone, even with those imperfect traits, because they're honest and they know at the end of the day, whatever happens, they're going to know everything that went on.
What is the most nerve-wracking thing you must deal with as a freelancer?
Nerve-wracking thing. So, early on in the days, I've had a lot of nerve-wracking moments. Everything was very sensitive, meaning everything was like, the final minute, the final quarter, I have the ball, I got to make the shot kind of moment, right? But when you start realizing and start breaking everything, I'm going to say, into processes, you start really taking away the nerve-wracking moments, because with processes, there's nothing that you should be doing without a process. So everything in your head should be already played out. So whatever circumstance, whatever situations you face, you try to build a process around it. It's really hard to get like, that nerve-wracking moment. In the early age, when I didn't have those kind of processes, I would say dealing with clients, how do I make sure I get clients, close clients? That was the most nerve-wracking, because at the end of the day, without clients, without projects, I wasn't able to put food on the table, right? So I think once sort of I had a process built on how to close, find, get clients, that's when I started everything kind of started falling into place. But I would say, like, in freelancing, the most nerve-wracking thing is, how do I make sure I continuously get projects, right? Continuously have work.
And also what I heard, it feels like it's also uncertainty. So that's what makes nervous. But as you've said, when you have processes, you have it covered, and it's like, yeah, it just works. Okay. As a freelancer, do you ever feel professional loneliness?
Oh yeah, every day. Yeah. So I think one of the things about solopreneur or being a freelancer is you're doing this all by yourself. You're wearing all the hats. You're it. Sometimes, and most times you're working within a team, but you're always still that contractor, or you're still that freelancer, right? So I definitely feel lonely at times, and it really helps having a dog that's always walking around. But yeah, it's something that I deal with myself mentally and kind of on a day-to-day basis as well. And it's something I'm sure a lot of freelancers experience. Yeah.
If your friend wanted to become a freelancer, what are top 3 things you'd advise them to consider before doing it?
I would honestly consider it, or if you really want to become a successful freelancer, you have to treat it as a business, and you have to treat it as you are the enterprise. You are literally the business. You are the product. So before freelancing, I think 3 things I would tell my friend, or even if I were to start this all over again, would be have a solid service offering. Know exactly what you're doing, but be very good at it. Don't offer a variety of services. Don't, offer content writing, development, design. Don't be an agency. Just offer one thing, but be extremely good at it. Because if you're extremely good at it, and if you find your niche, you will have people that need you. So I think finding that niche, finding that one perfect service, developing a process around it, sit down and nail down, how do I make sure I can deliver the perfect service or project or whatever work that I'm doing perfectly. And then third, have clients before you dive strictly straight into freelancing full time or whatnot. Have a sense of how you're going to get the client, what you're going to do for the first X amount of months to get those clients, and then you should be good to go.
I wish to have the sky's the limit, but time is the limit. So the final question: if you were starting freelancing today, what is one thing you would have done differently?
One thing I would have done differently is I would have liked to have a better process in place and clients in place before it. So I went through the whole up and down roller coaster ride of not having clients at all and having to deal with creating a process while building my freelancing journey, and it was a lot of nightmares. And I there was a lot of moments where I almost gave up. And I think one of the main thing I would restart is ensuring I have clear processes.
Got it. Sam, thank you so much for sharing your experience and for having such an open conversation.
Yeah, anytime, Yuri.
Thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, hit the like button 5 stars and share it with your friend. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.